All right. Hello, home service pros, and welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast, episode number 62. If you've been thinking about a career in the heating and air conditioning field, or adding HVAC to the services you already offer, then today's episode is for you. We have a special guest on the show today. Dr. Thomas Moorman is the school director from the Perfect Technician Academy in Weatherford, Texas. Dr. Moorman has spent his entire life as an administrator, director, or consultant in the higher education field, holds a doctorate in education from the University of North Texas, and today he serves as the director of the Perfect Technician Academy, which is a 6-week full immersion fast-track HVAC school approved by the State of Texas Workforce Commission Career Schools and Colleges program. They work with a lot of HVAC companies to train their technicians around the country, as well as a ton of veterans groups to open up new, great-paying careers for our military veterans. We had a really good discussion. He offered up a lot of great advice for companies and individuals seeking to learn more about the opportunities that exist in HVAC. So without further delay, let's get right to the interview.
Welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast for contractors. Get actionable advice and tactics on how to grow your home service company. Plus interviews with industry experts dropping value bombs in marketing, sales, and operations. And now, let's power up your home service biz with your host, Mark Ambrose of Battle Plan Marketing.
All right. Welcome to the podcast, Thomas.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Mark.
Oh, yeah. We appreciate you coming on the show. Let's dive right in. Tell us what you do now, who you do it for, and how you help it.
Absolutely. I'm the school director for a trade school that's primarily focused on HVAC. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to train HVAC technicians to operate a van independently for a contracting company. Our primary goal is to put out quality technicians. So I worked in higher education for about 30 years, and I was fortunate to have this opportunity to come and work for the trade school and really help them out with their compliance, getting the school moving, and really trying to focus the energies of the school. Because we talked about a lot of trade schools just want to enroll the masses of students and try to get as many students in as they can. I said, if I'm going to do this and be a part of it, I want to do it the right way. We're going to have smaller enrollments, and the focus is going to be on quality for the industry, not about how many students you can get in the door. It's about the quality of the product that we're going to put out into the industry. And so that's really where we put our focus.
Nice. So are you working with existing HVAC companies to train their staff, or what's your outreach?
We have contractors all over the country that we've been working with. We started out with a few contractors here in Texas. We've expanded that. We work with some very large names out there. Here in California, I think Gettle's in LA and other places, Phoenix and Arizona. We've worked with Gettle quite a bit.
Great outfit.
We've worked with Summers out of Indiana that is all over the state of Indiana. There's quite a few that we've had good relations with. Bolden on the East Coast and some others.
Nice. Yeah, those are big names out there. So you're located in Weatherford, Texas, northern Texas, yes?
Yeah, we're in North Texas. We're about 20 miles west of downtown Fort Worth in Weatherford, Texas. We're just a small town. We like being out away from the Metroplex just a little bit because there's not a lot for those students to do. And so they can't get in a lot of trouble while they're here because we bring them in and it's a full immersion program. We want them to eat, sleep, breathe air conditioning while they're here. And so it's a 6-week full immersion program. And we don't want them to be distracted with anything outside of the school.
Nice. So they come to you. It's not a digital training course. They come to you hands-on right into the equipment. You got to work with it to know it.
Yeah, even through the pandemic, we never went to online courses. A lot of schools did. That goes against our philosophy of training a quality technician. We believe that to have that quality, you've got to get your hands dirty. You got to get them into the equipment. You really don't appreciate electricity till you've experienced electricity. And so that's very important to us, is having that hands-on opportunity and getting them here and getting them involved. That's one of the reasons also we have small classes. A lot of schools will have 6 or 8 pieces of equipment. We have over 70 pieces of equipment in our lab, but we'll never have more than 14 students in our class. Part of that is we want to make sure every time they go into the lab, they get a hands-on experience. And every student, they're going to maximize that time with the equipment, and they're going to see a variety of equipment, old units, new units, medium age units, all kinds of different refrigerants in those units, and being able to diagnose and work with a lot of different equipment. And so that's really our goal, is to set them up for success when they get out in the field.
Nice. Yeah, you can't learn a trade through a digital course. So your hands have to be on the equipment. Like you say, there's so many different models and ages and iterations of equipment that they got to get their hands dirty. They got to see it.
Absolutely. You need to really get your hands on it. You don't learn how to build venting or do those things if you haven't actually had your hands on it. You can learn theory online, and there's some things you can learn online. I think some of the EPA stuff, you could do some of the EPA things online and stuff like that. But when it comes to truly being a quality technician, you're going to have to do it in person.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you find like some plumbing only companies starting to come your way and add HVAC to their services, or everybody's already in the HVAC world?
There's a lot of HVAC contractors on their own, but there are many contractors that are expanding plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. You're seeing more and more of that.
Oh, good.
I'm seeing more and more contractors that I know that they've gotten their master's license in as electrician and are working on their master's license in plumbing, and they're doing air conditioning. So you're going to see those start to expand. And that's a trend I'm seeing. There's more companies that are offering more and more services. I've even seen some asking now, adding pest control and other things to that repertoire as well.
Yeah, the plumbing and the HVAC is a perfect fit, and you've already got that client. So you should look at expanding the service. Plus, a lot of HVAC companies do plumbing. So if you're plumbing only, you might lose your plumbing business to that new HVAC contractor.
Right. And HVAC encompasses all of it, plumbing, electrical, everything. And we had a big winter storm here in Texas, very unusual for us a while back, where we had a big freeze, lots of pipes exposed, busted.
Oh, yeah.
So every HVAC company, every company that had any kind of plumbing license was out there doing plumbing. You take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think a lot of companies now are expanding into the electrical side because people are now asking for generators and household generators and those kind of things to avoid some of the situations that occurred last year. We see the same kind of things in South Texas with hurricanes and other things. There's a great need now where people are wanting these generators for their homes.
I see. Backup utility power in case of a utility outage.
Yep.
Does solar working well in Texas, or you seem to be talking generators more than solar? So maybe it is big out there?
Well, actually, our whole building here, we have solar panels all the way around and on top of our building. So I will say that solar is big. There's a lot of people that are interested in that. Anything we can do to save money in the current economy, I mean, people are interested in doing that. Right now, solar panels takes about 10 years before it pays itself off, but it really depends how long someone plans on being in their home.
Right, exactly. And then you have the addition of batteries, which could give you that backup power. I'm sure a generator is a lot cheaper, but a lot noisier, and you're still dependent on fuel source, right?
Right. Well, we have a lot of natural gas here in Texas, so that's not an issue.
There you go. And it's inexpensive.
Fairly inexpensive, yes.
What are your most popular training courses?
So our academy focuses really just on one course. We had a variety of courses at one time. And when I came in, I said, you need to be great at one thing before you expand into a lot of different things. And so we narrowed down and said, okay, we are going to train the best technicians for the industry. And so we really focus on the HVAC repair service technician program. That program, you can have someone come out of that program and become a lead installer. You can have someone come out of that program and do maintenance calls, do repair calls, do sales calls. We're really preparing them for all of those avenues. We want to prepare them for those top jobs that are available out there where we know they can make a good income. One of the groups that we work with is a lot of veterans. We've had up to 65% of our students being veterans. Right now, it's about 35% of our students are being veterans. But the goal, when you bring someone who's coming out of the military, is to help them transition into something that help them support their family and be successful. And they're looking for those kind of opportunities that aren't minimum wage starting opportunities because they've been in leadership roles and done other things. That's our focus is we want to bring people who have technical skills and get them into the industry so that they can be really successful and help contractors be successful in their businesses.
That's awesome. I'm sure it varies by the date of service and wartime and all that stuff. But are there some veterans benefits that help with tuition and things like that?
Absolutely. So we are a GI Bill eligible program. And so any veteran who qualifies for GI Bill, whether it's 10% or 100%, most active duty veterans will qualify for 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, they'll be covered. And it covers about 2/3 of the school. There's some other grants that we have locally here in Texas that then cover the remainder. Typically, someone who comes to our school who has GI benefits, the only things they have to pay for is housing. They have to pay for their EPA certification exam, and they have to pay for the textbook rental. The EPA certification and textbook rental is about $40. And then the housing, if they get a private room, it can be up to $2,400. If they want to share a room, it's $1,200. And we've done that. We've contracted with a local Marriott property to get some really discounted rates for them to stay in that hotel. try to keep it under their BHA payment that they get, because they also get a stipend from the VA for living expenses. So for them, they really kind of break even if they come. One other program that a lot of people don't know about right now is the Vrap program, and it's the Veteran Rapid Response. It has to do with COVID, and it's still active until December of 2022. And it's for trade school education for veterans who no longer have GI Bill benefits. So if there's a veteran out there who has no GI Bill benefits, the VA will still pay for their full tuition to come to school and go through a program and do that, not just at our school, but at other schools as well.
That's awesome. What's the name of that program again, Doc?
It's called VRAP, VRRAP. It's the Veteran Rapid Response Assistance Program.
VRRAP.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Like to hear that. So everything's hands-on, live instructors, of course. Do you serve just people from the U.S. or people from Canada come down too? Or
right now, we're really focused on people from the U.S. We don't have the ability to offer a student visa. Now, if someone's in the country and they have a visa to be in the United States for that period of time that we're in class, then they could come to class. But they would have to get a visa on their own to do that. We don't sponsor student visas for international students.
Okay, fair enough. You talked about the EPA 608 certification, I think it was. Is that a national certification, or when they get to their state, do they need another state license of some kind?
So the EPA license is a national certification. So that is good anywhere in the United States. Even some places outside of the United States will honor the EPA certifications that we do. That's really to train them to work with ozone depleting gases, to be able to charge a unit, to vacuum a unit out, and how they handle those gases so that we handle them properly and don't affect climate change and issues like that through the EPA. I mean, that's what they're trying to regulate.
I see.
And so the EPA is one thing that's universal. I mean, it can go anywhere in the United States. Every state, though, does have different licensing requirements. There's still about 23 states that require apprenticeships, journeyman, and master HVAC. Texas is not one of those states. In Texas, you can come to our school, get your EPA license, and you can start working for a contractor right away. You have to register with the state. It costs about $20, and you have to register under a contractor's license. And once you've worked for a contractor for 4 years, you can apply for your own contractor license, take the contractor exam, and become an independent contractor if you choose to do that.
Nice.
But every state is different. Someone who's looking at their state or where they want to live, you need to look at the requirements for your state because they're all vastly different. Education and certifications licensure is all state controlled.
I see. How would they find that out? Like the contractor's license board in each state? Is that where they would go?
Yeah. So there'll be a different type licensing board in every state. There's an organization as well called Next Insurance. Next Insurance actually publishes a guide that covers the licensing for contractors in every state, but it'll give you the links of where the registration offices are for each state as well. So, because you don't have to have a contractor license to be an HVAC tech. You have to be registered under someone else's license.
I see.
But they'll give you guides where the offices are in every state.
Nice.
So that's Next Insurance. They publish a guide every year that kind of helps you find those things.
Awesome. I love how you're working with the vets, and I've seen you've been on a lot of veteran-specific podcasts, so hats off to you. I'm an old crusty old vet myself. So talk about the opportunities that are out there for veterans, men and women who are looking for good trade that's a great future for them, dependable, not going to be replaced by a robot or AI or any of that. What did the opportunities look like in the HVAC trade, going to work for somebody else? What kind of income can they expect?
For the veterans, all the trades are wide open. I think electricians, plumbing, HVAC, there are so many opportunities in all of these trades for these veterans to come in. I was at Fort Bliss the other day and I was talking to a guy, and here's this infantry guy and saying, all I've done is I've been on the infantry. I've done field responses. I've worked on Patriot missile systems. I've done things like this, but I know my way around tools, but all I know about air conditioning is how to change the thermostat. And even that's a little tricky some days with the new thermostats, right?
Right.
And the reality is they have a lot of technical skills, and it's just transferring those technical skills to the industry where we want to place them. And many of these guys, it's a very easy transition for them because they understand electronics. They understand switches. They understand all the basics. And it's now saying, how do those apply to an air conditioning versus a helicopter motor or a Patriot missile system or an automotive technician? I mean, they've done all these different things and applying that to this where they can make a really good living in this industry. They also come in, they know how to wear a uniform. All our techs wear uniforms. They wear their uniform, it's pressed and sharp and clean. When they come to the door, they're yes, sir, yes, ma'am. They're clean cut. They know how to talk to a customer. They've had training on how to talk to people and de-escalate situations and do that. So they have a lot of background and training that's very applicable to the soft skills that we want in this industry. And so if we can bring them in and let them know about these opportunities, we're going to do them a great service. And the reality is most of the time when you go onto a military base and you talk to these guys who are about to transition, they're being pushed, use your GI Bill, go to college, go to college, go to college. Well, a lot of these guys I talk to, the reason they went in the military is they didn't like being in school.
Right.
And so they joined the military to find another opportunity. And now they're trying to push them back into college and they're just frustrated. They don't want to go to college. Then they don't realize they can use their GI Bill to go to trade schools as well. And so there's some education that needs to take place there. And we work through that. And when you start talking to them about opportunities like ours, where it's a 6-week training program, it's a full immersion program. It was actually designed by a Marine under the military training model.
Oh, nice.
And so that it's a model they're very familiar with. So when they come into our campus, or when they were trained to work on a Patriot missile system, that's the kind of training they went through, was a 6-week full immersion program, hands-on, do it, learn it, and then practice. And you're out there and doing it. And that's exactly what we do. We bring them on. You're learning the theory. You have your hands on everything. You're getting dirty every day. And then you go out in the field and you're doing it. And one of the things that sets us apart, too, from a lot of other schools is our learning doesn't end when a student finishes our program. We're committed to their success throughout their training and throughout their first year in working and all that stuff. So if we have a technician who graduates from us and they're working for a contractor and they're in the field and they run into something and they're like, I know I learned this and I just don't remember, or it's something I'm just not sure what to do with this. We tell them, we don't want you to call your boss. We want you to call our instructor. And let's use that as a teaching moment right there for you and the other people that are in the class at the moment. And it's a great learning experience for everybody. And so that way, we're really helping prepare them to be that quality technician we want for that contractor. And it's a continued learning process. We don't want the learning to stop just because you're not here anymore. I mean, we're committed to their success and providing that quality technician.
That's fantastic. That's good value-added service there. I like it. And I agree. So, yeah, college is for some people and the trades are for others. And hopefully you come out of the service, you know which one works for you. And yet all the trades are incredibly good opportunities. They're good income in the HVAC trade, I would imagine, as there are in all the others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a state-approved school through the Texas Workforce Commission. So the only employment numbers I'm allowed to list are the Department of Labor numbers, which says the average technician makes about $50,000 a year. But that takes into place all the assistant installers all the way up to the technicians. And that data is 2 years old. So I try to remind people of that. The median salary, hourly salary is about $23 an hour. But what I tell people is the best way to look at that for your area, just go on Indeed, type in HVAC technician, see how many jobs are available, and Indeed tracks salary data in your area. And you'll see that the Department of Labor numbers are a little skewed when you start looking at what people are really making out there in the field.
Yeah, I bet. No, it's a great opportunity and way better than many other choices they have available. And it's a career. Again, you're not threatened by...
And it's essential service. I mean, that's what we've learned these last couple of years. Is that,
yeah, exactly.
These services haven't gone away. They've been actually in greater demand because more people have been spending time at home. And so that home environment needs to be comfortable and safe.
Indeed. And you go from serving your country to serving your community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting on a more local basis.
And they're solving problems. It's mission-based. I mean, these military guys, that's what they learn, is how to problems on the fly. I mean, in the field, they're learning I've got to take care of the situation at that moment in the field. And so they take that from the military background and they bring that into the trades, and they're doing the same thing. They're solving the problems in the field, taking care of things, making sure the mission gets done.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, you're in Texas where it's 110 degrees on some summer days and you get someone's air conditioner working, they're very appreciative. So there's some reward in it as well.
Yeah, they're happy campers. No, I agree. And every day is different. It's new customers, new people, new problems, new and different solutions. So,
right. And a lot of these military guys, they like that too. They don't want to be stuck behind a desk. They want to be out and about, moving around, meeting people and getting out and seeing different environments all the time. So it really works for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're teaching processes, I imagine, is a big part of. So here's step one, here's all the way to Z, right? A to Z, which is also what they're used to. In the military, we're taught everything is a process. A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah, you'll take your entire gun assembly apart and have to rebuild that entire gun. Well, here we'll come in. We'll take every single wire out of the air conditioning unit and have them completely rewire the unit. I mean, every single wire you can imagine is gone, and they're going to put them all back in and make sure that thing's running. And that's the mindset. That's how they think. That's how they process. And that's really what we want to do is help them be successful.
That's awesome. So give us a little bit of your background, Thomas. So you and I talked a little before the show, but I think the audience would be interested. Obviously, I can feel your exuberance for where you are now and what you're contributing now to military vets and national community, really. So give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a career educator. I really believe in helping people reach their fullest potential in life. That's what my education background's all about. I went to Texas A&M University. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology, a master's degree from A&M in educational psychology. Then I went on to do a doctoral degree focused in higher education with an emphasis in administration and higher education. And so I worked for the state of Texas at universities within the state of Texas for the last almost 30 years. 25 of those years, I worked in medical education primarily and with the health sciences and helped start some new programs, pharmacy school, physician assistant programs, things like that along the way. I did a lot of work with accreditation. I still am active and visit medical schools on accreditation site visit teams. So I've stayed involved in that atmosphere as well, but I've always been involved in those areas. And so I just happened to be introduced to the Hobson family who was starting this program and starting the school. And they're starting the school because they're a group of contractors who couldn't find quality technicians. And so the school was started to provide quality technicians, not just for their business, but for local businesses. And now it's expanded where we're providing technicians all over the country. From that educational standpoint, I mean, it's really about helping everybody become their best. And I've always been focused. The veteran population is important to me. I was born on a military base overseas. I grew up on military bases. My dad was a naval aviator from 1941 to 1975. And I still remember, though, he was in a leadership role by the time he finished his military career. And he thought, no problem, I'm going to retire, find a job off base, things will be good. Well, we moved off base with the 6 kids and life changed dramatically. Because on the base, everything was controlled. Everything was in its place. We knew how to access everything. You could just go to the hospital. They took care of you. There's no issues. We moved off the base, and all of a sudden, there were lots of unexpected bills, unexpected things. The job opportunities didn't come as my dad thought they would because it was 1975. A lot of employers weren't very friendly to military coming out at that time.
Right.
And that was just a shock to the whole family. And so we struggled for a while and things spiraled and were very difficult during that time. So happens my mom went back to school, got her degree in counseling and started working for Dodds on military bases overseas. So from the time she was 50 till she was 75, she worked for Dodds overseas. And so we went back onto military bases in their adult life and things as well. But what I learned from that was that transition period. If we can do things to help veterans during that transition period when they come out of the military so that it's a smooth transition, not only are we doing that individual a service, we're doing their family, their wife and their kids a service. We're doing their extended family a service. We're doing the communities they live in a service, and we're doing our country a service. And that's really what it's about is we need to take care of our own and make sure that we're providing great opportunities for these guys and gals to be successful in the industry. And we talk a lot about guys, but I tell you what, there's a great need for women in the HVAC industry, women that are doing very well in this industry.
You bet.
They shy away, but we want to draw them in if we can.
Yeah, if they like working with their hands, you bet, dive right in. The world is open to you in all the trades. Well, that's wonderful. I feel you could feel that education background. You could feel that caring and giving. So we appreciate your service there, Doc. So are you having problems finding talent yourself in your school and teaching?
No, the teaching, I have some great instructors, I mean, with 15, 25 years of experience, and they love teaching. So that's one of the benefits of it, too, is they love watching that light bulb go off. They love solving problems and helping students that are working in the field, answering their questions. It's a really good team environment overall. So the instructors are great. Probably the biggest issue right now is I have more contractors calling me looking for employees than I have students calling to come in to work or trying to get trained. That's a dilemma right now. And that's part of it, maybe COVID stuff, but part of it is all the incentive payment that the federal government's been doing. People have been staying home. And so we've got to get people back to work. And there's great opportunities. If you want to work and you're willing to work hard, there are great opportunities in the trades.
Yeah. Are some of these companies willing to relocate? So you got a veteran in whatever, say Texas, but the employer is in Louisiana or whatever. Will some of them help relocate the vet?
Absolutely. I have one vendor right now that is doing a $2,000 sign-on bonus for people that are willing to come work for him.
Nice.
They work for him for over a year. He'll pay him another $8,000 bonus.
Wow. See? I love it.
There's a need. There's a lot of things going on. I had even one local guy. He's in Longview, Texas. The student was in Longview, Texas, and the contractor was in Forney, Texas. He offered to bring him and his family, put him up in a hotel till they could find an apartment, pay for the moving expenses, the whole thing, 100 and something miles down the road. But still, there's lots of opportunities like that. The companies, especially the established companies, are really looking for talent. And if you're willing to work hard, they're going to do anything they can to get you there and then retain that employee.
That's really great. I'm even happier now that you're on all these veteran podcasts, also getting that word out there that this is available to them. Maybe they can get you in some of the VA weekly newsletter, email newsletter that goes out or something. I don't know how you get into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know because we're GI Bill approved, but I'll tell you that process, the VA, they're very difficult when it comes to a for-profit trade school because there's a lot of bad players that have been out there in the past. But the reality is we're trying to do things the right way. And that's probably the distinguisher is there's a lot of things we're doing and we've got to get over the stigma that other people have put on the trades. And it's a little bit difficult sometimes. I mean, there was a school right down the road whose owner was indicted just recently for defrauding the VA for millions of dollars.
Oh, my gosh.
We've got to get past some of those things that have happened and let people know that, hey, there's good players out here. We're trying to do the right things. Right now, we have a 93% graduation rate of the people that come in, and we place 80% of the people in jobs in 30 days. That's better than most colleges are doing right now.
Yeah, no kidding. That's fantastic. Does the VA track after graduation? How many are still employed in the industry 12 months, 18 months, whatever down the road?
So the VA does not track that except for the Vrap program. They do track that for that, but that's brand new. So we'll see what that tracking looks like. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I just had my first Vrap student start the program this last month, but the state of Texas does track that. We're licensed by the Texas Workforce Commission as a workforce development program. And so they do track the employment of people out of our program and we report those statistics. So the numbers I gave you were actually the numbers that the state gives back to me.
I see. So if your numbers are poor, you would lose that accreditation then?
We could lose our license to educate students, yeah.
Gosh, so sure wish the VA was doing some after school tracking to see what schools are performing, which ones are not, so we don't get ripped off by the guy who got arrested.
Exactly. One of the things I was really excited when they came out with this VRAP program, because the funding model for the VRAP program is they pay the school 50% up front when the student registers. They'll pay 25% when they graduate, and they pay the other 25% of the educational cost when they get a job.
Wow.
Now, that's the way we should be funding all GI Bill, in my opinion. Right now, the regular GI Bill, they fund that 100% upfront right away, and then you're done. And I said, that's the wrong way to do it. I said, we got to do it 50% when they start, 25% when they finish, and 25% when they get a job. And that would really put more onus on the schools to perform the correct way. So I was very encouraged when I saw the VRAP program and the funding model, and I hope they'll really look at that and consider changing some of the GI Bill model in that direction.
That monitoring will just create better successes as a result that it's being measured. And so hopefully the success of that program, the measuring of it will carry over to other programs.
Absolutely. You can never achieve a goal you don't set. And when you set expectations, just by setting an expectation that something's supposed to occur, it's 10 times more likely to occur. So I teach people all the time, if you want something to happen in your life, put that Post-it note on the mirror in your bathroom.
Exactly.
You'll do things unconsciously and subconsciously to make sure that happens that you don't even realize. And eventually you'll hit that goal. So set those goals. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to have outcome goals. And that's what we create for the school when we have a funding model that is after or for employment. We create an outcome model that you need to meet. And you'll see more and more programs meeting those outcome models because it becomes a priority.
I love it. Well, and you're going above and beyond by still offering your help while they're out in the field.
Yeah, because again, our program was created by contractors for contractors. So our goal is not enroll the masses and make as much money as you can from the students. Our goal is to create a quality product for the contractors so the contractors want to keep coming to us for those students. So it becomes a supply and demand. I mean, our school is going to cost a little bit more than some other schools, but we also believe in our product that it's a quality product.
You got a skilled technician on the other end of graduation, and that's what they put your school together for. So like you say, they're not in it for the tuition growth. They're in it for feeding their businesses with qualified technicians. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the investment in a quality technician pays itself off 10 times fold for the contractor.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where I do like, not that non-veterans are not worthy of course at all, but veterans, like you said earlier, they're used to a regime. They're used to taking orders. They're used to processes. They're used to being clean and having everything in order. So it's a nice fit for the trade and for business owners to hire vets who have been skillfully trained in the trade.
There's multiple benefits for the contractor because there's tax incentives as well for hiring vets. So there's a lot of tax incentives that come into hire a veteran. So that's a benefit. The other piece is I have our contractors contact me regularly and say, the veterans that you sent me are my top performers all the time. They're always at the top of that performance models when we're looking at our sales meetings, things like that. One guy said, I had sent him a guy 3 months ago, and then once about 6 weeks after that. He said, well, the guy you sent me 6 weeks ago is catching up to the guy that you sent me 3 months ago, and the guy you sent me 3 months ago is already the top performer in my company. So the reality is these guys, when they come out of the military, I mean, they're mission focused. They're driven to achieve goals. And so if you set goals, they're going to work hard to achieve those goals.
Yeah, nice. So if you have good internal systems within your company, then they will shine within. If you're an organized company, you'll have good military vet is a perfect fit for you. If you're not organized, you might drive that vet crazy.
You might drive them crazy, or you might need to put them in a management position to organize.
Right. Bring your systems into play. Yeah, exactly. Any myths about your industry or the HVAC industry or your certification education industry that you'd like to debunk at all?
Probably the biggest myth is that, if I go into HVAC and I go to a trade school and I pay all this money to go to this trade school, I'm going to be in a minimum wage job for a long time before I can actually make some money. That is really a myth. The reality is if you're willing to work hard, the day you get out in that field, you can have great opportunities to make a good living for you and your family. And you need to look at every state. So licensures, every state's a little different. Some states that have apprenticeships for 2 years. Okay, you may make a little bit less in those first 2 years doing an apprenticeship, but there's a lot of states that don't have that requirement. And so it's wide open. Like in Texas, you can start working for a contractor right away. And if you're working hard and you're making calls and you're not having callbacks, you're going to do really well.
That's great. Yeah, even a 2-year apprenticeship, you're coming out of the service, you're young. You might feel like you're getting older in your late 20s or something, but you're still a spring chicken. You got a whole lifetime ahead. So grab onto a career, a trade that will reward you forever.
Yeah, and a lot of those assistants, when they have an apprenticeship program, if it's a military guy, if they register with the Department of Labor as an apprenticeship site for that period of time, that veteran also gets a stipend from the federal government during that time. So it even increases the value of those opportunities, not just for the technician. They'll want to stay in your program for that full duration because they're getting a great incentive out of it as well. So there's so many opportunities that people don't realize are there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You touched on that the employer can get potential tax benefits of hiring a vet. I wasn't aware of that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I don't know all the employment law and all the details, but I have employers that specifically are seeking out, they have veteran hiring initiatives because they know they can get anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 in tax credits per veteran that they hire, just depending on the situation and things like that. It can become a great benefit when you start looking at the tax implications and how much money you save in your taxes because you brought these veterans on. Like Gettle always has a large veteran hiring initiative going on. I mean, it's a very veteran-friendly company. They're ones that we've worked with quite a bit in that arena.
Yeah, I see Gettle on LinkedIn quite often celebrating the fact that they've hired more vets in one of their locations. So they're great. And they've got a great reputation in several states. I think they're in the West here. I don't know if they spread to the Midwest or East at all.
As far as I know right now, they're in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. And they may be in a couple others. I know they're branching out into other areas right now. The owner, Ken, he's really a great entrepreneur and looking how to maximize that business and make it really work. And so I know he opened branches in San Antonio, Texas and Austin, Texas recently.
Nice. Yeah. I've watched Ken online also, and he is a stud. He is definitely a smart guy. I believe he came in and turned Gettle around because when he was a kid, I don't remember the entire story, but he got serviced by them also. So he's turned that company around and they are hugely successful right now.
Yeah. He tells stories about when he held a flashlight for his dad and all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. That's right. That's with the kid on the truck. That's the image on the truck. Also, a little illustration. Good to have a story for every company, right?
Right. Absolutely.
What would you say, Thomas, is something you guys wish you knew now, or in the beginning of starting this organization that you know now?
when it's talking about working with these military guys and working with the VA, I think the process of building those relationships could have gone a little smoother in the beginning. Understanding how to work with the VA and through the VA and the state approving agencies and how all that works, it's a bit cumbersome and it's a little bit difficult. And for a small school, it can be a challenge. The other piece is people talk about, being an accredited school, so you get federal financial aid. We're not an accredited school, but what people don't realize is as a small school, the cost to become accredited is outrageous to go through that. And accreditation really doesn't add a great deal of value to your school other than what people perceive that value is. I mean, it's more perceived value than a true value. A lot of accredited schools have taken advantage of students. I mean, that's why we have the federal financial aid crisis that we have. All accreditation does is allow you to receive Title IV funds. That's what it's all about. It's by the Department of Education to allow you to receive Title IV funds. I guarantee you our state approving agency is very similar to accrediting body. And I say that because I do accreditation site visits for medical schools. I understand the process. I know the behind the scenes. I know how it works. It's really a formality to check and balance so that you have certain things in place so that you're a real school and you can offer federal financial aid. But the reality is the cost involved in doing that is not always worth it. And just because someone's accredited doesn't mean they're a great school. I look at where they're licensed and look at their outcome and what they're producing. And I'll put our school up against a lot of trade schools that are accredited. We're not really supposed to name people by name, but you can go to the Texas Workforce Commission. They have all the HVAC schools listed out, and our graduation rates and placement rates are higher than most. I would say they're higher than all the accredited schools. I'd have to go look again, but at one time they were. And some of the big name accredited schools that are in multiple cities within our state, ours are double their graduation and placement rates.
Yeah. So they are mostly money machines, tuition machines.
That's right. Just because they're accredited because they want to take Title IV money and take your money.
That's so crazy.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. I think I share that opinion, actually.
Because we've done higher education for 30 years. That's my opinion.
Yeah. You've got the inside scoop. Even from the outside looking, most of us can be aware of that. Federal funds for tuition is disaster. All kinds of lawsuits. I remember last year there was a big class action lawsuits or whatever. And we've been forgiving student debt in the hundreds of millions in the last few years, right?
They just forgave all the debt for the students who went to ITT, which was one of the biggest technical schools out there. But what they were doing was just trying to enroll as many people as they could, some of them under false pretenses, some of them, the student never even attended school, but yet they collected federal financial aid for them. I mean, those are the bad players that caused all these problems, and they were accredited schools. You need to look at the quality of the outcome for the school and not focus on just accreditation or other things like that.
How do people look that up? You mentioned on the state website you could see.
We're licensed by the Texas Workforce Commission. So all trade schools in Texas, and education is a state responsibility. It's governed by each state independently. So every state will have a different process. But for the state of Texas, all technical schools have to be registered and licensed by the Texas Workforce Commission. And so the Texas Workforce Commission publishes all that data. And so you can say barber schools, and it'll tell you everything about the barber schools. You can say HVAC, and it'll pull up the schools that do that kind of training and what their stats are for the year.
I see. So maybe just Googling something like grading technical schools in whatever state you're in should start to get you down that path to finding where they're...
Yeah, you can look up licensing in technical schools, and it'll take you to the licensing agency, and then you'll be able to find data from the licensing agency.
There you go. Yeah, that's crazy. So once again, not measuring the outcome and just accrediting a course organization without measuring the outcome, no bonuses if there's job placement and things like that, has created a nightmare that we taxpayers, well, first and foremost, the students are given a sham sort of education maybe that may or may not apply to the real world happenings. And then there's no job placement after that. So they get a bad distaste. And now maybe depressed. They just spent money. They owe money. Now what? They got to start over somewhere else. That's a terrible situation.
Yeah. And some of the school, I mean, the reality is anybody going to a school, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And so you can go to a school that may be not one of the best players and still get a good education and even a great education and come out and do well. But it's what effort you put into it that's going to make that difference. And so I don't want to put one school over another. I mean, the reality, there's a right place for everybody. But I would say people don't judge a school just because of accreditation status or other. Look at their outcomes. Find that data. Wherever you have to go to find that data, judge a school by the outcomes that they're producing.
Nice. And you're right. It's also your own output, right? So you get out of it what you put into it. Even in a bad situation, you could extract gold out of it. So what's your favorite part, Thomas, so you say, of being an educator, part of this organization?
For me as an educator, it's all about watching people reach their full potential. Some people have so much undiscovered potential within themselves. And when you give them an opportunity to do something that's going to better their life and further them along their path, that's a great reward right there. We all should be here to help each other become the best person that we all can be, personally, professionally, etc. That's what I look forward to, is some of these military guys that have come to us. They've been right on the verge of homeless, or one guy was living out of the back of his van when he came. And now they're able to buy a house. They're able to do the things that they never thought they would be able to do. And that's a great reward.
Yeah, that's goose pimple stuff, right? I got the hairs raising up a little bit right now. Yeah, you're changing people's lives in a dramatic way. It's priceless, actually. What advice would you give somebody who's going into the HVAC business?
Be prepared to work hard. If you're thinking about going into a school and you're thinking about training for this industry, what I would recommend is contact some of the local contractors in your area. Just find out who's hiring. Go on Indeed, whatever, and find out who's hiring. Go to their office. I mean, these are salespeople. They're used to sales. Go to their office and sell yourself, and go talk to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this training to join this industry, but I really want to get a better understanding of what it's like. Would you mind if I do a ride along with one of your technicians on a Saturday or on a weekday when I don't have to work, whatever, but do a ride along? See what that day encompasses. I don't want people to come to our program and they don't realize what all they're going to have to do. As a technician, you're going to crawl under a house. You're going to crawl through an attic. You're going to deal with difficult situations. You're going to deal with dogs in a backyard. You're going to deal with all kinds of things. And the reality is you need to know what to expect so that you're getting into the profession and saying, hey, this is something I know what it is and I want to do it. And if I get someone who really wants to do it and has the energy to do it and is excited about it, we can really get you out there and you can have a great career in this industry.
That's fantastic advice, actually. I haven't heard anybody say that in like 20 or 30 years. In the old days, we used to do information interviews. Exactly what you said. You think you want to be blank? Well, then go find a company that does that and see if you can do a ride along. Get immersed for a few days. Not only education for the person who's considering being an HVAC tech, but also now you're establishing a relationship with that company who's already impressed. Like, how many people have done that? Very few, right?
Right. And I give this advice to people pretty regularly.
It's great.
And I've had some people do that and ends up the contractor really likes this guy. Hey, this guy, he shows up every day on time when he said he was going to come in, even though we're not paying him and all that kind of stuff. Said, hey, I like this guy. I tell you what, you go to this school and when you get done, you come back and I'm going to give you a job.
I love that.
That's ideal. That's really where I'd like to be. I would like to have every student have a job before they ever get here. So we try to match people up or do things like that as well. We also work with a lot of contractors that they have someone who's a little bit green or they're doing well. They may be an installer or doing something that said, hey, this guy could do more than what he's doing. So they'll send him to us for training and they'll go back and they'll put him in a van and the guy will go out there and be real successful as well. I've had people that have 5, even 10 years experience in a van come to school here and they always come back and say, wow, I feel like I need to write an apology letter to some of the people who I've fixed stuff for before doing everything really the right way.
Yeah.
Always more you're going to learn if you put the effort into it. And we can help someone from a novice to someone with 10 years experience become a better tech.
I like that. Yeah, sure. Because you're learning from the techs beside you for the most part in the industry, right? And they've learned from the tech that they started with. So there's definitely gaps in the information.
Yeah, when you pass information along, it changes a little bit each time.
Right. It's that old elementary school, line up 10 people, and by the time the 10th person is a whole different message. Yeah. I really like that going out. So find a HVAC company in your local area, Google it, find the ones with the best reviews, the most reviews, verify it on Yelp and Google, maybe Home Advisor, and then go in for an information interview and dip your toe. See if it is the right business for you. And you have just absolutely impressed that business owner. I'm willing that doesn't happen too much anymore. Used to happen a lot back. I'm an old gray-haired guy here.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I don't know. You're looking pretty young there. You're looking pretty young.
Yeah, I look younger than I really am. But
well, that's good. Good problem to have. let's start to wrap it up, I guess. Is there a couple of books or a book or two maybe that you recommend to anybody out there?
Well, there's two things. I'm a pretty strong Christian, so I always recommend the Bible. I said every leadership lesson you really need to know is in the Bible somewhere.
There you go.
If you want to go to a business book, I'll tell you, I love just about everything that Patrick Lencioni has ever written. His book, The Advantage, is one of the best management books that I've ever read. Again, you can tie most of the lessons in there. They're very much about moral lessons and moral integrity and those kind of things. And that's really what makes great leaders is communication and integrity.
Yeah, I agree with that. Communication, especially treating everybody equal and leading by example. Yeah. What was that book? And the author, I'm not familiar again.
Patrick Lencioni, and it's called The Advantage.
Okay, Thomas, and it is Dr. Thomas Moorman, as you described earlier with your education background. I appreciate you being informal with us here today.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Where can our listeners connect with you online, Doctor?
So the best way to get in touch with us as the Perfect Technician Academy is our website, perfecttechnicianacademy.com. On YouTube, we have a YouTube channel, and you go check out some of the testimonials and videos that people have put out there as well. That's where a lot of podcasts and news stories and other things are all out there about things we've done. The website's the primary place. If you're interested in coming, there's an Apply Now button. The application's free. I'd be glad to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Thomas. It's great information for the audience. Really appreciate it. Hope our listeners got some value from this interview. Thanks for sharing your time and attention with us today. For our audience, if you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast so you get notified of future episodes. Feel free to share this episode on your social channels. We'll see you in the next episode. Good luck out there and create a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast. To power up your home service business, for show notes, visit battleplanmarketing.com/podcast. If you enjoyed our show, please share it on social. Until next time.